What's going on YouTube? Got a build guide for you here to start the new league. I ran this last league as my starter and ended up taking it to end game, and it was able to beat everything in the game. You can beat level 30 simulacrum, you can beat all the ubers, uber elder. It's this at the end of the day, this is one of the most well-rounded builds that I've ever played. And then I also made a magic find build, lightning arrow, just for finding items and currency and things like that, so that I could craft for both of them. So this was my main build that I used to beat all of the content in the game. Like I said, bossing, it's fantastic. Survivability is unbelievable. So if you're looking for something to start this league and then take into the end game and try to beat everything, this one can do it all. So again, the skill is BONESHATTER. You probably saw from the title. We'll just start right in the perk tree, and let's see here. We have what we're gonna do here is you're starting here. We're a juggernaut, right? So we're just gonna come down through this strength right here. You may want to come through the life and armor nodes first, depending on how experienced you are at the game. If you're experienced, I think you'll be all right here. If you're fairly new, I would come through the life and the armor and then respec into this to get a couple points back later. Then we'll come up, and this is just, strength, life, all that kind of stuff. We'll come out over here for Lust for Carnage, and then Harvester of Foes. So this is some nice damage and some attack speed and whatnot. This node you can take later. I took this later down the road because my early on survivability feels pretty good, but this will help a lot later. And then elemental resistances cannot be lowered by curses. When I was initially fighting Awakener, I switched over to Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you, and then but for everything else in the game, I do elemental resistances cannot be lowered by curses. All right, and then you come down through here, get some armor, and some of these decisions you can make on your own. If you're feeling like your survivability is good, then take a damage node, and excuse me, vice versa. If you're feeling like your damage is really good, but maybe you're a little squishy, take some survivability nodes. So how you go about doing this, you'll have to kind of feel it out to some degree. But then you're going to come down, you'll take all this stuff, some damage, some life, and some regen. These are your totem nodes, which is a lot of damage, right? And you're going to be using two totems. You use Ancestral Protector and Ancestral War Chief. And then having buffs from active ancestors linger for 3 seconds gives us a huge damage boost and helps with like mapping and things like that, right? Against bosses, you pretty much have them down all the time anyways, so it doesn't make as big of a difference. But having the effects linger for 3 seconds is nice. These you'll take later. I think there's better things that you can take, like life and just pure damage. So once you get down here, I would go up this and start grabbing all this stuff up here, right? You've got a ton of damage, some impale, some armor, some endurance charge, etc. A big reason why we end up taking this extra endurance charge is simply because of our lethal pride. We have a lot of really good nodes here on lethal pride, so increased stun duration, BONESHATTER, scales off of stun, so you don't need a ton of it, but having a little bit in there is helpful. And then double damage, endurance charge on kill, double damage, fire resist, just kind of nice, nothing crazy. But really we're looking for melee damage and double damage. The more of those you can get, the better. And then down here another double damage. So just from this node, we've got a 15% chance to deal double damage, and then a 20% melee damage, so this is a lot here. And then on top of that, you get a bunch of strength from all the small passives. After that, you'll come over here, traverse across, a little bit of damage, but this node, Precise Technique, is one of the big damage nodes, right? Because you get a ton of accuracy and whatnot from Juggernaut, right? And you're taking it all over on a couple items and stuff like that. You're getting a ton of accuracy. So you do not need to come up and take Resolute Technique. Early on, I did use it until I had enough accuracy to hit enemies 100% of the time. But this is a huge damage buff right here. So although it feels like a lot of points to get over here, this is crazy damage. So it is definitely worth it. I tried getting it out of the build a couple times, but there's just really no way to get rid of this. You could maybe try to make a crit-based build, which I did play around a little bit, but again, it just doesn't feel as good as the precise technique Bone Shatter. So. And then down here, this is kind of the last thing you do is you're going to take a large cluster with, this is the ones I liked was evasion and armor and fizz, and then overwhelm and fizz, right? So, you've got some attack speed. There are some other options here, but this is just big damage. For our Watcher's Eye, this is a pretty crazy one. Increased attack speed while affected by precision and non-channeling skills. So you're going to want to have non-channeling as much as possible. That's probably the most important of this one, of this Watcher's Eye, and then the precision, the double precision is just really nice. Obviously, cannot be blinded is helpful when you're stacking accuracy, right? So this is a good Watcher's Eye, and probably the best one I found. You'd be okay with like a Pride non-channeling fizz, something like that, but attack speed is really nice on Bone Shatter. So you really want to try to get as much attack speed as possible. And then for our small node, we just take Pride has 50% increased mana reservation efficiency, and this will be a little bit different because one of the main reasons why we take this is I crafted an axe that has okay, we're making some sales. I crafted an axe that has Pride, has 60% increased aura effect, but also has increased reservation. So we use that small cluster to counteract that. You won't have this most likely. I don't believe Crucible's coming back. So you won't need that one. You could use like a Fettle or something like that, get some life, or just put those points somewhere else in the tree. Maybe even just take these last two nodes here. So main reason why I have this is for because of the role that I have on my Crucible tree. As far as the ascendancy, obviously we're Juggernaut, and then we're going to take Undeniable, that's big accuracy, and then 1% increased attack speed per accuracy. So again, that's another reason why we want to stack so much accuracy, is we get that boost to attack speed, which is really nice. Unstoppable, cannot be stunned, which is fantastic, and action speed cannot be modified below base value. 10% increased movement speed is nice too. Unbreakable, armor from equipped body armor is doubled, and okay, this dude needs this item, I guess. And then untiring, right? So increased life regeneration rate, 1.5% of physical damage prevented from hits in the past 10 seconds regenerated from life. We have a few different ways where we prevent fizz, and armor is one of them, the main way we do it, but there are a couple other things in our build that we'll get to eventually. The order that you take these in is kind of up to you. I don't necessarily think, probably take Undeniable first, but then as far as these other ones go, you can just kind of feel it out. Like if you feel like they're all pretty defensive, so just kind of whatever you're feeling or whatever feels like it's going to be the best source of defense. Cannot be stunned is obviously very nice. This one, I think this is what I ended up taking last, and then Untiring was third, so I went 1, 2, 3, 4. If you feel like you can change it up, it'll be okay. But I would go Undeniable first, and then the other three you can kind of do it how you see fit. So there's the tree. Let's get into the armor, and I will provide the paste bin for Path of Building in the description. So if you just want to go straight to that, then or you after you've watched the video, use that as reference. That'll probably be best. And I'll just start by saying, obviously, I have Mage Blood on here. You won't have Mage Blood early on, most likely. Maybe some of you will get lucky. But what you'll want to use is the Magnate. This is best in slot for his damage and all that. You've got some elemental resistances, but the chance to deal double damage and the chance to deal triple damage is really nice. I have mine double corrupted with strength and dex. You don't need that, not necessarily, but this will take you through endgame. This is best in slot outside of Mage Blood, right? As far as flasks, since we're here, you'll use the same flasks, maybe minus quartz. Okay, let me just sell this to this guy, buddy. Jeez, come on. Testing out some builds. I respect it, but I'm trying to make a guide here. Sorry guys, you can see a quick little sale for those of you that are new to the game. This is how it works. He comes to my hideout, puts his item in, we trade, and we're good to go, right? So, all right, let's get back to it. Apologies. So we'll start with the weapon. This one, again, you will not have the crucible tree. I crafted this one from the ground up, so I started with a just a base axe and then fractured fizz on it, and that's obviously high rolled fizz. We got real lucky on the fracture, and then just crafting, and maybe eventually, if you guys are interested on how I did this, you know, I'll make some more of this league. I didn't film it the first time, but this is an insane axe. As you can see, we're just looking for fizz, attack speed, and then double damage is really nice. And we got, you know, obviously increased attack speed while a rare unique is nearby. So this is a really, really nice axe. A lot of damage, but again, you'll just be looking for the fizz, percent and flat, and then also attack speed. Those are going to be your main rolls you're looking for. All the others are obviously big damage, but not as important as the fizz and the attack speed, because this is all local, so it's a lot. As far as gems, we have Divergent BONESHATTER, and this is because this gives us increased attack speed per trauma, and we use ashes, so we get all that extra quality, so that gives us a lot of extra attack speed, right? So then Impale, close combat, awaken melee fizz, you'll just have regular while you're leveling up, melee physical damage, ruthless support, and then we have awaken brutality, you'll just have regular brutality. So those are our links in our main hand. As far as rings, they're both pretty similar. Flat accuracy, life, elemental resistances, and then damage recouped as life. Those are that's a big one for us, because as we're hitting things, we're doing damage to ourselves, so we recoup some of the damage that we're doing to ourselves. And then obviously non-channeling skills have reduced mana cost. And see, as you can see, BONESHATTER only costs 3 mana right here, which was enough. This ring, as you can see, is almost exactly the same. We get our chaos resistances, our accuracy, so a little bit of life, and then damage taken recouped as life. We could have gone to a flat. I did have non-channeling skills on here originally on a different ring, but 3 was sufficient. Having it at 0 wasn't completely necessary, but it might be, you know, if depending on what your reservation looks like and stuff, maybe it's easier and you can just add that last roll to the ring. Or again, like until you get ashes, you could also add it here. So those are our rings. As you can see, we're ashes. This will be later as you get into the game and, you know, earn some currency and things like that. Up until this point, just get an amulet with some flat physical damage. Life. Ideally, I like to keep resistances off of my amulet, because there's a lot of really good amulets in the game that are unique, and so if you're stacking some of those stats on there, then when you remove it, you'll have to adjust your other gear. So I try to typically stay away from attributes and resistances on my amulet when possible, and I try to put them other places, just because it's an easier swap out when you make the move to ashes. As far as boots, pretty standard movement speed, life. We have chaos resistance on here, and then life regen, which is really nice. You might want some resistances here. Again, these are all kind of, can be moved around to some extent. We don't need as many resistances because we use mageblood, and then we have 33% with a 69% increased effect. So this gives us a lot of resistances. But here you'll probably have some more on your boots if you don't have mageblood yet. You also get the 22% out of your magnate. So moving to the gloves, we just have some suppress. This, you could take it or leave it. It was just kind of a little bit, it was helpful early on. Now later it doesn't make as much of a difference because I have so low spell suppress, but it's not a bad thing to stack a little bit of it. But as you can see, we've got some attributes, some life, some regen, and then just more attack damage leached as life, so just a little bit of survivability, nothing crazy here. You can get some resistances or whatever. As far as our explicits that we're adding. We have overwhelm 10% physical damage reduction, and then the big one is non-val strike skills target one additional target. You can get this up to 2, and this just really helps with clear and mapping and stuff like that. It really makes a big difference. We didn't go over this. We have life regen and then just damage per endurance charge. Not a huge deal here. There are some other things that you might prefer, but the life regen is what I was looking for. Our body armor, this was a really nice body armor that I crafted. We have flat armor, life, regen, mana res, additional physical damage reduction, and then just crafted life and mana. And these are all, fairly high tier. These are really nice. And then as far as our explicits, we have +2 to all maximum resistances. So this is nice defense. And then melee hits have a chance to fortify. If you don't want this here, you can swap out one of these skill gems for fortify if you want a little bit of defense. I would probably go with impale, but you'll lose a fair amount of damage here, but you'll gain a lot of survivability. So that is an option to go to fortify there. And then for our helmet, we have increased mana reservation, which we try to get as much as possible, and then physical damage taken recouped as life. That's a big one. We need that. And then as far as the rolls, it's pretty standard: life, resistances, and armor. So nothing crazy here. These rolls can kind of all be spread across these 3 things. What's important are some of these explicits, like the mana reservation, physical damage recouped as life, and then non-val strike skills target 1 additional enemy. So as far as gems, we'll start here in the helmet. We have Blood Rage, Warlord's Mark, Molten Shell, and Cast when damage taken. You can, you don't necessarily need these. You can cast them yourself, but it works real nice in a cast while damage taken setup. So I liked it, kept it. Body armor, this is where we put all of our auras. So we have Arctic armor, which is a lot of damage reduction. Precision, obviously we're getting a lot of accuracy and things like that. And we have that corrupted to 21, and then we get 20% quality out of the gem itself, and then 29 out of our Ashes of the Stars. So we're getting a lot of increased damage there just from this one gem. Lighten, level 4, obviously. If you're running a level 3 or whatever, you'll have to wait or maybe leave one of these out. We have Divergent Pride, Determination, which is a big one, and then Berserk, right? So this is obviously not an aura, but this is just a big damage buff after we've charged up our Berserk. So moving to our boots, we have Leap Slam, Arrogance, so that it costs life instead of mana. Ancestral Cry, and this just helps us, gives us some armor and some melee strike range and stuff like that. So increased cooldown recovery rate. Ancestral Cry is really nice. Some people like Enduring Cry for the endurance charges if you don't have another way to generate them. And then Clarity, which is only a level 1. We're only using it for, we're not using it to regen mana. We're using it so that we can take advantage of our non-channeling skills, have -9 to mana cost. Excuse me. All right, so back to the gear, or our gems. In our gloves, we have Ancestral War Chief, Ancestral Protector, multiple totems, and Culling Strike. So these you want to throw down, every so often as you're mapping, and then with our skill tree, that our stats stay up for 3 seconds even after they die. And then Culling Strike, obviously, when you're fighting a boss, it'll whack them, cull it, feels good, And then, yeah, so I think that's it for our gems. And then again, obviously, Ashes, you'll work on that later. But I think that is about it for the guide. As far as all this, as you can see, this is how I have mine set up. Berserk, this is what we use when our bar here fills up, or when we need just a big damage boost. This is massive. So if you can stack it up on ads and whatnot, and then pop into a boss, you'll absolutely annihilate it. It's a lot of fun. So that's about it for that. So we did tree, we did gear, and I think that about sums that up, right? What are we missing here? Anything? If you guys want to see, you can do, if you guys just want to take a quick look, this is my tree that I've been using for farming. So, you know, it's up to you guys. This is not for bosses. This is for farming currency and just making money and stuff like that. Typically, this is set up for my magic find, but if you're interested in that as well, this will make you a lot of currency. Um, and yeah, and I think that's about it, guys. If you guys have any questions or need to know anything, feel free. I've been playing a little bit of Tarkov lately, but once the league starts, I'm around, and I'll be streaming and all that. Feel free to pop into the Tarkov stream, and I'm happy to kind of chat it over with you guys. And if you have any questions or anything like that. But that's it, guys. This build is a lot of fun, very powerful. And like I said, can do all content in the game fairly easily. You know, you need to invest into your, you know, weapon and things like that. And this is an expensive weapon, but this build is pretty easy to take far. They're dropping the new trauma gem, which might be really nice in place of one of the like perhaps impale, or maybe, you know, I mean, some of these are really hard to drop. Brutality, melee fizz, these are a lot of damage. Ruthless, maybe ruthless is the one to go if you want fortify or trauma, and then keep impale. Actually, that's what I would do, is keep impale and drop ruthless for either fortify or the new trauma gem, depending on how you feel. But that's about it, guys. Like I said, any questions, hit me up. I'm around, and I'll do my best to answer, and we'll see you on the next one.